magic moment, so different and so new, but like any other, until I kissed you.
50 years in June, July, August, no, July, August.
It's been a long time.
50 years.
5-0 for you that don't understand this.
If they're looking at you, then you made the 0 and the 5, and so that means
Right.
only 5 years. So you have to do it this way to make 50 for them.
Okay, that's too complex for me. Well, we have Western Washington University.
Which was not university back then.
Oh, now I remember. It's been 50 years, you know. When we went, it was Western Washington College.
I thought it was a state college.
No, they didn't recognize the state.
Are you sure?
I think you're right. I think it was Western Washington State College.
He admits he made a
yeah,
mistake.
I have to admit that I made an error. I hope this isn't recorded. You see how she's changed since she cut both rings on her finger? Did you get that on there too?
I did.
Good. No.
I don't know what you're talking about now. Excuse me.
Yeah, this is the part you don't know. So there again was another opportunity for her to say, should I continue with this guy or not? He's trying to kill me.
But it's really tacky.
She continued going out with me. I don't know why.
Because I love you.
Forever, forever till the end of time. Oh,
I purposely figured out her schedule. So it was like I was stalking him or something. Well, this is a picture here of Viking Union, which is basically the snack shop, bookstore, and all that good stuff. More importantly, this is where I first saw Diane. I was sitting down at the table in the Viking Union cafeteria area, and I'm reading the college newspaper. And I hear this laughter going on. And I actually put the paper down to see who is doing all that laughing. And it happened to be Diane. And I thought, well, she'd be fun to go out with. Then my next thought was, well, she won't go out with me, so don't worry about it. During our initial getting to know each other, I purposely figured out her schedule. This is before I ever dated her and anything, and I would leave the Union building knowing she'd be walking across the campus. I can't quite remember, we used to occupy 2 or 3 tables. Who's we, all of our friends and everything, and her group started merging in with our group. Anytime Diane would come back, she'd be wound up sitting at our table with the other girls and guys that we were with. I remember much talking to her about that time. I just basic chit-chat. I would make sure that I would cross her path. And so we got to know each other that way, on the pathway. In terms of why I was at Western Washington, was I elected to take 2 years of college prep work at that college because I knew I had to transfer down to the University of Washington and finish out my degree plans. Western Washington did not have a complete program at that point.
My senior year of high school, we were in Southern California, which is where we moved after my mother and father divorced, and we moved back to Southern California, and then she married Gib, my stepdad, and his family lived in Bellingham. I had never wanted to be anything except a nurse from little on. So when in my senior year, when I started applying to nursing schools, I applied here to St. Joseph simply because Gibbs' family lived up here and I could live with them until it was time for me to move into the nurses' dorm. So I graduated in June, moved up here, moved in with Gibbs folks, and lived with them that fall. And then I went home for Christmas in December for a 2-week break. Took the Greyhound down. Back in those days, Greyhound was a safe, economical way to travel. So I went from Bellingham down to Southern California. Spent a lot of time with Mama and Papa, my mother's parents, who were my extra special grandparents. They put me on the Greyhound bus to come back up here and go back to school.
I'll be coming home, wait for me. Oh, my love.
Oh, the thing that I was considering was transferring to UW. I had to finish my degree program. And we originally were thinking, whose way, my parents and I, that I would transfer in winter quarter. Well, at this time, again, to bring everything back into perspective, in the fall I'd seen Diane, talked to her briefly at breaks between classes and stuff, just chit-chat. And then, so I would have been gone at the end. When she came back from Christmas break, I would be down to UW. But for some reason, I was to stay on one more semester, which obviously changed my whole life. So that was a major, big decision. Of course, look what I got.
You can dance, every dance with the guy who gives you the eye, let him hold you tight.
You were one of 9 guys at the time or something.
I did not. Only 8. I had dated one of his friends, Roland Jennings. Only once or twice did I go out with Roland. But we were going to go to a basketball game. And your dad was going to save us a seat up in the bleachers.
Oh, I know that the music's fine, like sparkling wine. Go and have your fun. Oh, I know. Laugh and sing. Yes, I know. But while we're apart, don't give your heart to anyone. But don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me.
And Roland had called me and asked me to be at the game and save them seats.
So I had never seen, or had never noticed him before. And so we went, Roland and I went to the game, and we went up in the bleachers.
You can dance, go and carry on till the night is gone and it's time to go. If he asks, if you're all alone, can he take you home? You must tell him no. 'Cause don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me.
I have always been one to be very jumpy at sudden noises. And of course at basketball games they do that air horn thing. And every time they did the air horn, I jumped, which he thought was hilarious.
Don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me.
But that was our first real encounter, I guess you would say.
Say the last dance for me.
The library was our first date. I was living at Mormore's house. He called one night and asked if I would like to go to the library. And I had to study, so I said, sure.
But before she answered the phone, I actually tried to dial her number 5 times. And each time I said, no, I'm not going to make a fool out of myself.
Girl to call my own. I want a dream lover so I don't have to dream alone.
And finally I talked to myself and said, look, I'll be alive when she says no. So I let the 6th dial go through, and her grandma answered the phone. That's where she was living at the time, was with them. And I got around to saying something, hey, I have to go. It was a Thursday night, I remember that part. Go up to the library, and if you want to go with me, I just need to do some studying up there and get a hold of a few books. Knowing full well she'd say no. Well, she said yes. I had no comeback for yes. I'd practiced my no. And she literally said, are you still there? Because I didn't know how to respond.
And I have been surprising him ever since.
So we wound up with going up in our family car, which was a 49 Plymouth, and picking her up that night at Mormore's house, and we did go up to the library. And you remember I mentioned at some point that I was running around with a gang. Well, this gang, including Roland, was always trying to get me hooked up with somebody. My group is there, half of them, which surprised me because my group wasn't noted to be in the libraries. I never knew they knew where the library was. And they look up, and they look at me, and they look at Diane, and they all give me the thumbs up.
Girl to call my own. I want a dream lover so I don't have to dream alone. Please don't make me dream alone. I beg you, don't make me dream alone. No, I don't wanna dream
The cabin out at Lake Whatcom played a big part in Larry's family life. His folks had bought the cabin when he was just a little guy.
Right around 1948, so I'd be about 8 years old.
While we were dating one evening in April, and we'd only had our first date in February, we went with another couple one evening, just the 4 of us, just to have a little party and everything. And while we were out there, we were dancing, and he was talking about going down to the university. And I said, well, when you do, I'm sure I will, next thing I hear about you, you'll be engaged to some cute blonde. He said, no, if I ever get engaged, it will be to you. And that began our engagement period. Well, exactly a year later, to the day, he took me back to the cabin, and we were dancing, and he proposed and gave me my ring. So he reenacted the whole thing. So that was cool. That was cool.
Wise men say.
Somewhere in February, March, I asked her if we should consider going steady or something.
It was March.
March. And she said, I already have. So, back then the girls would wear a necklace type thing around and then have a friendship ring. I didn't have any of that, because my experience in all this was next to ground zero.
Okay, we want the story of the ring. So we went back to the cabin, and he asked me to officially to marry him, and he gave me my ring. And my comment to him, because
And I remember this.
Larry, of course, never cracks jokes. So he took this ring and he put it on me, and I said, "Which dime store did you get it at?" Because I thought he was joking.
Darling, so it goes. Some
No, he was not joking.
are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for
The week before, Mom had come down to Seattle, and we went to a company called Duncan's. So Mom and I actually searched out the ring, and I don't remember why I didn't give it to Mom to take back to Bellingham, but anyway, I carried it by Greyhound bus from Seattle to Bellingham with my hand around that box in my pocket. It never left my pocket.
take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you, for I can't help falling in love with you.
Darling, you send me, I know you.
We were married at Calvary Temple in Bellingham, which was about, 3-4 blocks from his parents' house. I had started going there very shortly after I moved up to Bellingham. And so that's why we were married in that church. And the people were so very gracious and so very nice.
The women did not even really know us at church, but they all put together a great reception area for us.
One lady took little sugar cubes and she put little rosebuds on top in the color of our wedding, which was a peachy apricot color. And she made tons of these little sugar cubes with these roses, that even though we weren't involved in the church a lot, they saw the importance of getting us started off and by encouraging us and everything.
Mm-hmm. If I recall right, there was a wedding the night before, and that bride graciously left all of her decorations, like up and down the aisle and stuff like that, for us to use. I worked on Saturday morning of our wedding.
No, you didn't work Saturday morning. We had to have our rehearsal Saturday morning.
Okay. Well,
because that other couple, obviously the church was in use Friday night for their wedding. So we couldn't have our rehearsal. So we had to have the rehearsal Saturday morning. Then after that, we went back to Grandma's house. And back then they didn't do the big groom's dinner thing after the rehearsal. So Grandma just made sandwiches at her house.
We had to find some dry ice for the punch.
You put dry ice in the punch and it made it smoke and bellow.
And my friend Malcolm and I searched all over Bellingham, and I used the right word. Nobody sells dry ice. I think we went to Bellingham Ice Cold Storage Plant. And oh yeah, we got a ton of it in the back. And
then you had to go to work.
You worked that afternoon. I only put in 2 or 3 hours of work.
You worked that afternoon.
Probably.
Yeah. When I was in high school, in a home ec class, we had to do a big portfolio of what it took to be, engaged and preparing for your wedding and setting up a trousseau and doing all the things that we did 50 years ago. In the portfolio, I had a picture of the dress that I had found that I fell in love with. So when we got engaged, Larry's mom had a good friend who was a phenomenal seamstress. I may have materials and everything. I may have paid $50, $60, maybe. It was at the wedding reception. We were in the receiving line, and my sister came up holding a glass of punch and said, "I don't feel well," and proceeded to faint and dump her punch all down the skirt of my dress.
One thing I remember about the reception is we ran out of punch that had the dry ice in it.
Because our wedding day was very warm and they run out of the punch stuff and they raided the communion cupboard.
They went into the communion closet and took the communion juice and poured it all into the punch bowl. So everyone was getting communionized. I had made big moves so nobody would know where the car was, because I'm not one that is overjoyed at seeing cars all marked up and just married and tin cans and everything else.
He's a party pooper.
Well, my sister, my lovely sister, found and knew where the car was. So she did everything I did not like to the car and found great joy in it. So when I brought the car up, I sent in somebody, Malcolm, to go get Diane and say, "I'm waiting for her out there." Of which Diane did what?
Not going. You want me, you come get me.
So I got out of the car.
Yeah, you came in the church and you scooped me up. You didn't even say hello.
Well,
he was so intent on nobody doing anything to the inside of the car that he very carefully locked all the doors before he came into the church to get me. Totally forgetting to raise the window on the driver's side. So people were dumping rice.
They were pouring rice into the car. So we get in the car and we take off. We get halfway. We get a couple miles away, and I said, "I don't have the marriage license." And back in those days, you had to have a marriage license in order to get into a motel or
a respectable motel.
Yeah. So I turn around and I go back in, and Dad's got my marriage license. "What are you doing with this, Dad?" He said, "I don't know. I'm just holding on to it."
As I walk through this world, nothing can stop a do-lover. And you are my girl, and no one can hurt you. Oh no, yes I Duchess, Duchess of Earl. We'll walk through my dukedom, and a paradise we will share. Yes, I